Hey everyone, Sarah Pacaro, your favorite hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist. Today's video is going to be about holding yourself accountable. That's one of the hardest things that we can do in life, right? It's so easy to point the finger and blame other people or external circumstances for our current situation and circumstances. It's so easy to fall and slip into that role of playing the victim and continue to go on and on about the things that were done to you or the things that you did because of what someone else did or something else that happened. And you're getting to this point in life where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and realize that if anything's going to change, you need to change. But the one thing that probably hasn't changed is the way that you have or haven't held yourself accountable, because we like to do this, well, you and they and this and it's not my fault and I can't help it. So when you're wanting to make a change and really transform and turn your life around, an element of it is taking responsibility and holding yourself accountable. But that can seem impossible to do, or you may go, well, yeah, I know I need to do that, but I don't even know where to start. So that's what this video is for today. Today, we're going to go over 5 things that you can do or ways that you can begin to hold yourself accountable. And remember, this is not about perfection. There is no such thing as perfect. There's just continuing, right? Continuing to be aware, continuing to do the work, and continuing to hold yourself accountable. It's progress. It's not perfection. So if you're expecting perfection, that probably is a part of you not holding yourself accountable, because you're expecting perfection and I'm not going to get it perfect or right every time, so why do it? So you can see how people get stuck in these thoughts and these loops. So personal accountability is essential for personal growth. So if you're not into personal growth or not willing to hold yourself accountable for the things that happen in your life and the change, because you can't change anyone, and anything else, you can only change yourself. And that's only done by holding yourself accountable. So today we're going to go over 5 ways that you can hold yourself accountable. Without this, you develop that victim mentality and you get stuck. Everyone that I work with says, Sarah, I'm stuck. I don't want to be stuck. I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired of being stuck. And I realize I'm blaming others and, giving away my power and doing all these things. I'm making excuses for the behaviors that I have, excuses for not doing the things that I know I should do. And it can be a range of anything, right? Eating right, exercising, not drinking, opening up to your partner, being nicer to your kids, working less, not more, all of those things, right, that we use to distract them and avoid, and all those ways that we fail to hold ourselves accountable. So let's get into it. Ways that you can hold yourself accountable. The first one is to acknowledge. And I say this, awareness and acknowledgement. They both start with the letter A. And if you speak English, the first letter of the alphabet is A, is the beginning for a reason. Acknowledging and being aware. So acknowledging to yourself, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, people are going to have their own thoughts and opinions about everything. They may match with yours, they may not. But when you can acknowledge to yourself, not to others, but acknowledge to yourself when you're feeling an emotion. And many people who have long history of trauma or crazy past will feel shame and guilt around feeling feelings, because they've been shamed or been told that they're too sensitive, or they're overly sensitive, or they're hypersensitive. Other people have put labels on them. You're too sensitive, you're a baby, get over it, it's not a big deal, when to you it is a big deal. So the first thing you can do to hold yourself accountable is to acknowledge to yourself when you're feeling emotional. Right? Not too emotional, or not overly emotional, or not hypersensitive, when you're just feeling an emotion. And then carve out time to yourself. Make time for yourself to address that. And this is generally done best alone. Sometimes it feels good to talk to someone else about it, because then you get it out. But sometimes that can be an avoidance of this, because you're looking for external validation. So one of the most important things you can do is acknowledge to yourself when you're feeling this emotion, and then carve out and make time. You don't look for time. It's all we have is time. So you don't look for it as if it's out there. Like, this is time. Making the time, carving it out to be alone with yourself to address it. And maybe it's just sitting in that feeling. Maybe it's allowing yourself to feel that feeling, sadness, overwhelm, guilt, and express that feeling. Maybe it's anger and you want to punch a pillow or your bed, do something soft unless you feel like breaking your hand, and go for it, punch wall. Or maybe it's journaling, whatever it is, making time for yourself. I make time for myself sometimes alone to just go for a walk or to exercise or to take a yoga class or to throw a yoga class on YouTube and make the time for myself so that I can move through those feelings. But first, you have to acknowledge that you feel those feelings. So that's one way you can hold yourself accountable. Another way you can hold yourself accountable is to communicate to others when you feel or see that you've done wrong, you've acted out of character with them, right? You're feeling a feeling and then you're projecting pain. I just did another video on that. So communicating to others and not going "Oof," and just not saying anything about it and just hoping it just goes away, right? That's what toxic people do. And you may feel that you're a toxic person, and that's what narcissistic people do. You may feel that you're a narcissist because you never circle back around to apologize when you are aware and have identified that you've acted out and you've acted out of character with them and you projected your stuff onto them and you never follow up and circle back around and say, you know what, I was completely out of line. I apologize. I would like to tell you where that came from if you're willing to hear it, but don't force them to. They may not be ready to hear it, but just communicating with them that you acknowledge and you're aware that you acted out of character with them is a really powerful way to hold yourself accountable. But this is the thing that a lot of people don't do, because then you feel guilty and you feel bad and you feel ashamed and you just hope that time will just go by, or you can just say, hey, what are you up to? Let's go grab lunch. Did you forget about what I did or what I said to you? I hope so. That way you don't have to address it. Well, that's you avoiding holding yourself accountable. So one way that you can do that is to just put yourself in that uncomfortable situation and say, hey, I need to talk to you. I have been thinking about this. I completely messed up. I was going through some stuff and I took it out on you and that was wrong. And I want to acknowledge that I was wrong to do that. And then allow them the space to share their feedback with you. That's what communication is. It isn't just interrupting and projecting. But allow them to go, yeah, that really hurt. And then maybe, working together, again, not perfection. This is progress, not perfection. It doesn't mean that you'll never ever do it again. And that should be the goal, is that you avoid doing it again, but it doesn't mean it won't happen again. But you can move forward and take responsibility by holding yourself accountable by saying, hey, I was wrong to do that. I acted out of character. Another way that you can hold yourself accountable is apologizing when you've hurt someone or if you hurt someone. You may know that because you guys may be really good friends and all of a sudden they're not talking to you anymore. And you're like, why do they not call me anymore? What did I do? Right? Well, find out, communicate with them, and maybe you weren't even aware that you said something, or maybe it was the way you said it, not what you said. A lot of times that occurs too, right? It's the tone in which you said it and you made them feel really bad. Maybe you don't know. So if something feels off, chances are something is off. And so connecting with that person and saying, hey, I notice and I feel that things are off and this feels awkward. I don't like it. Did I do something to hurt you? Or just apologizing. Hey, I'm sorry. When you know that you've hurt someone, and not just sweeping it under the rug and, like I said, magically just hoping it'll go away. It won't. Resentment builds up over time, and it hardens. It hardens places like your heart, and it hardens, those really powerful places that when you remove the crusty hardening around them, you really open up and have really deep, powerful, beautiful relationships with people. But that all comes from the ability to hold yourself accountable. The next way you can hold yourself accountable is to be honest. Be honest with yourself. That is one of the hardest things for people to do, right? We can be honest with other people and we can be that perfect person, and we can put ourselves out there and we can give the best advice and we can say yes, and we can be that person that everyone says, wow, you're just so amazing. And I don't know how you do it, but wow, look at you. But then you're not honest with yourself. At the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you're not being honest with yourself and you're not acknowledging where you feel that you can improve or where you want to better yourself. And you carry those burdens, you carry the heaviness, you carry the shame and the guilt all those resentments, you carry them yourself and you're not honest with yourself about what you're doing to yourself. So that's one of the most important people in the world, is to be honest with, is you, is yourself, is that person who's looking back at you when you look in the mirror. So that is another powerful way that you can hold yourself accountable, is by being honest with yourself. And maybe it is through journaling, maybe it's grabbing a blank sheet of paper and saying, if I'm being honest with myself, and then just letting the pen flow. That's one way. There's many ways to do it, but being honest with yourself is really, really, really important. Most of us lie to ourselves. Most of us say, no, come on, it's not that. And we don't acknowledge and appreciate and just be where we are with whatever is there. We lie to ourselves about it. We think that it'll make us feel better in some way. Lies never ever make anyone feel better. So if you're being honest with yourself, that's a really powerful way that you can hold yourself accountable and move through the pain, not over around it or just stay stuck in it. Another way you can hold yourself accountable is communication. Communicating and upholding boundaries. And there's so much information out there around boundaries, and that is because they are so important. Boundaries with yourself and boundaries with everyone else. So communicating and upholding, right? You can put a boundary in place, but what's the point of doing that if you don't uphold it, if it just slips back down? Because someone crosses that boundary and then you feel afraid to follow through with the consequence that you've said, if this, then that. If you speak negatively to me, if you belittle me, if you call me a name, then I'm going to leave. And you're in a conversation with that person, and they probably went, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. And then they do that, and then you just allow the boundary to slide and slip back down. You don't uphold it. So first of all, you have to communicate that boundary. Second of all, you have to uphold it and follow through with the consequence. And it doesn't have to be anything rash or harsh. You can just say, I'm going to leave. Or if you're on the phone, I'm going to hang up if this happens. And then actually do that, hang up. And then you call back. You don't need to answer. They know what they did. And you don't need to tell them that you told them. That's a powerful phrase. Don't tell them that you told them. Tell them once, because nobody can read your mind and you can't read anyone else's, so you have to communicate and then uphold the boundaries, but you don't have to tell them that you told them. Well, why do you hang up on me? You don't have to say, well, I hung up on you because I said, and you called me a name, because then you're just fighting fire with fire. They know why. And if you're afraid that they don't know why, then give it some time. Allow yourself to process and feel the emotion, and then you can return to it, right? Especially when you feel unsupported, when you feel disrespected, when you feel hurt, or when you feel invalidated by someone. That is the most important time to communicate with them, is not a week later or a month later or a year later, is to address that as close as possible to the event that allowed or occurred that to happen. So when you say to them, hey, look, you just called me a name, and I told you if you called me a name, I'm going to hang up, so I've got to go. Click. But don't leave them hanging, right? Obviously, communication comes into play in regards to that. But if you tell them a month later, I don't know why you're not talking to me, and then you say, well, remember the last conversation we had, you called me a name, so I hung up on you. Chances are they're not going to remember that. So you need to do it as close as possible to the event that caused that. But those are ways to hold yourself accountable. 5 powerful, effective, and easy ways to hold yourself accountable. And if you're struggling with doing that, maybe this is happening, at work, maybe it's happening with a close, longtime friend, maybe it's happening with a family member. They're not easy things to do, but if you notice you're feeling overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, stuck in life, chances are there's something that you're doing or not doing that's allowing that or causing those feelings to occur. And if you're stuck in that, the only person that can change it is you. So that I laugh because that's one of the hardest things to do, is to take a look at yourself. We all love to be the one that says, well, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And then you get stuck in the blame game. You're never going to change if you're stuck playing the blame game. No, you got to take your little piece and leave it on the game board and walk off and hold yourself accountable. So these are 5 things that you can do to guide you to doing that. And if you're really, really stuck, and you don't know what to do, the most powerful thing you can do is do the inner work. And the most powerful way to do the inner work is by using the resources that your unconscious mind has. Your mind, not my mind, I don't know how you got in the problems, but your mind knows it's got a whole slew. It's like typing into Google. Why do I feel this way? Well, your mind's going to go because of this and this and this and this, and like pages and pages and pages of stuff that comes up. And with each thing that comes up, you can click on it, and then there's even more information there. That's how your mind works. It stores all these past memories and experiences. So why go anywhere else other than to the source to heal, right? That doesn't even make sense. So that's what hypnosis and the unconscious mind allows you to do, is show you what's really there for you, show you the resources that you have and the things that you can do that work for you, the ways that you can hold yourself accountable. But it's going to feel hard. It's going to feel hard when you're unfamiliar with this and you're at the beginning stages of this journey to go, okay, I'm ready to get unstuck, raise my hand. I realize that I need to do it, and I'm the only one that can do it. No one else can do it for me. Where do I start? Where do I begin? How do I do this? So those are 5 tips that maybe help you hold yourself accountable, but it's a lot of times easier said than done. So if you want it to be easier done than said, then let's connect. That's what hypnosis, that's what rapid transformational therapy allows you to do, is to get into this powerful resource, this thing that lies underneath our skull, in between our 2 ears, your mind, and allow you to go where you need to go to get where you want to be. So if you're ready for that, then please reach out. There's links in the video below the description that will take you to my website, show you my calendar, and show you times that we can connect when you're ready to do the work. Until then, I hope that this video on accountability helps you, supports you, and guides you along the journey.